Hello and welcome to Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. This is Stefan, your host, British by birth, American by choice. The Founding Fathers crafted some remarkable documents that led to the creation of a great country founded on liberty and self-reliance. I have lived in the Euro-socialist nightmare, and I'm doing what I can to return this country to the vision that the Founding Fathers gave us. We need to strive to rebuild that shining city on the hill, for without us, the world has nowhere to turn for freedom. For the next hour, I will be presenting news, views, and guests that help keep the true spirit of America alive. And folks, yes, here we go again. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, welcoming you to another episode of Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio. I am the talk show radio host that speaks like the Founding Fathers. I'd like to think my accent is much like they spoke in those days, and hopefully the messages that I bring are similar to what they were saying in those days. So folks, lots to talk about this week. This week I've called the episode "And the Beat Goes On." This is actually episode 324. Wow, what a number. Yes, the beat goes on. Stealing that from, obviously, from the Sonny and Cher song. But what I want to talk about is going to be mainly the hypocrisy of the Regressives and the left. And there is just so much that can be talked about, unfortunately. Just so much to talk about. In some ways, I don't know where to start. So I'm just going to pick some things. We'll see how far we get. Just tons to do. And if you're listening live, just a reminder, please do join us in the chat room. I see that Rex is already there. Good evening, Rex. Welcome, the Las Vegas contingent. Glad to see you again. So, let's get on with the show, folks. Plenty to do. Plenty to talk about, and off we jolly well go. So, comment that I picked up on the internet. So let's start with that. This is about a week ago. Somebody wrote about the Orlando shooting, and their comment was that, in actual fact, a year ago, something had happened, pretty much almost to the day. Something had happened in Charleston, South Carolina. Yes, it was when the deranged Dylan Roof actually opened fire in the church, killing 9 people, all of them black Americans. Not 50, just 9. Now, the piece is entitled, "What Did Not Happen This Weekend?" What did not happen this weekend? So, but let's go back, not to the weekend of the Orlando shooting. Let's go back to a year later. Shortly after that tragic massacre, which was just as tragic as the one that happened in Orlando, even though it was a smaller number of people, but photos began surfacing on the internet of roof with a Confederate flag. And, of course, we all know what happened a year ago. As soon as those pictures started circulating, the left blew its mind. It just lost its collective mind. People began defacing statues and other historic monuments. And in the face of relentless pressure from the left, many such monuments were taken down. These are pieces that speak to the actual history of our nation. Now, that history may not be all that good, But there's good and bad on both sides of the equation. There's good and bad in both the North and the South. Monuments were taken down. The government of the government of the state of South Carolina removed the Confederate flag and stopped flying it over the Capitol building, as did many other cities and states around the South. Stores like Walmart pulled Confederate flags off the store shelves. Amazon and eBay took them off their sites, and if you were unlucky to be spotted with a sticker of that red flag on the bumper of your car, you were likely to be verbally assaulted, called all sorts of ugly names, possibly worse. I know here in Georgia, and for those of you that know Georgia, the Atlanta area, of course, we have that famous tourist attraction, Stone Mountain, with the carving of the 3 Confederate generals. It was commissioned as a memorial to the Army of the South. But a year ago, there were regressive legislators, both at the state level and the federal level, calling for that carving on the side of the mountain to be destroyed because it represented the Confederacy. I mean, just absolute idiocy to even think of doing anything like that. So, the left goes wild. Now, let's fast forward to a couple of weekends ago. Orlando. 50 people are slaughtered in the hands of a jihad-bent Islamic maniac. So, where are the regressives now? Where are the calls for mosques to be turned down? Where are people out there defacing the mosques, spray painting the sides, or even tearing them down themselves if the government won't do it? What happened to the protests where groups, politically left groups and individuals, burned the black ISIS flag, or the flag of Afghanistan, national origin of the shooters' parents? What happened to all that? They were burning the Confederate flag. They were calling for the removal from the store shelves. Can you still get ISIS flags on eBay? I bet you can. So where are those protests? That's right, folks. Crickets. Or are we now going to have, and this is what the left has already started, the calls for understanding? Because actually he was a deranged person, as we said for Dylan Roof, but there were no calls for understanding him. Calls for understanding this poor deranged person who wasn't really religiously motivated, had nothing to do with Islam. He was just a poor soul on his own, and he was tormented by the fact, and now they have been trying to claim, because he visited these gay clubs, that he himself was gay. And yes, he just felt so bad about the fact because his father was so very much Muslim and Sharia law, and it just kind of tormented him, and he ended up killing those people because of that. Yeah. Right. And then, right, so now we're going to get the same thing, calling for us not to judge all of that group, in other words, jihadists, by the actions of one. And yet that's exactly what they're doing. They're actually calling for the removal of guns from our society. Any excuse to do that because one guy uses them. But they're, on the other hand, they're also saying we shouldn't judge him because he doesn't represent all Muslims. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. Really, really stupid. Anyway, so as I said at the beginning, unfortunately, I'm going to talk a lot about hypocrisy of the left. But just to stir things up, I do have a slightly different topic. And I want to come back to the Brexit referendum, which is actually taking place this week, I believe on Thursday. So next week we will know the result of the referendum. Of course, the whole referendum has been given a complete twist by the fact that one of the British politicians, a lady called Jo Cox, was murdered last week. And of course, well, I say of course, but yes, of course, last minute polls taken since that murder have shown that her assassination has definitely favoured the Remain side. She was in favour of remaining, she was campaigning for that, and right now the polls are showing that the Remain side is now leading by about 3 points, which is an exact reversal of the situation from one of the last polls before her murder. So, now, in some ways, this sympathy vote, I guess that's what you could call it, is to be well expected, and I think it was very obvious that that would happen. So obvious that now I'm going to get my tinfoil hat on and put that on, because I wonder, am I too conspiratorial if I wonder whether this murder is not quite what it seems? On the face of it, it seemed that a Leave supporter, someone who wanted to leave the European Union, shouting extreme right-wing slogans, was responsible. And that would give all the more reason to garner that sympathy vote for the Remain or the Stay group. But given the importance that the New World Order, those people behind the scenes that control the world, if you believe in that thing, and actually I think there's a lot more to it than we would like to think. So if we think how important they would find it to keep the UK in the EU, because the EU is definitely a New World Order thing. Think about this one centralized government controlling all of Europe. Boy, those New World Order people love that. So, like I said, am I too much of a conspiracy theorist to say, could this have been engineered by the New World Order? If they are as bad as many of the commentators say about them, they would be callous enough to say the sacrifice of one poor soul is more than justified by the result. Could it be that bad? We think about all the deaths surrounding the Clintons, also New World globalist people. All the deaths that surround them. Are all of them accidents? It all seems too coincidental for me. So what would one politician be? Well, tell me what you think, folks. Am I being too conspiracy theory focused? If you agree or disagree, send me a message. Go to the website, www.patrickcomelately.us. There's a contact form on the front page now, on the main page. You can send me an email, stefan@patrickcomelately.us. I'd love to hear from you. Just let me know what you think of what I'm saying, both on this most recent topic, but any of the other topics tonight or any other show. I would look forward to hearing from you. And of course, if you're listening live, come on over to the chat room. It's a little quiet there right now. Let's get some more people in there. If you're listening, just click on the little speech button in your Spreaker box there, and that will take you right into the chat room. Okay, folks, I see we have reached the first commercial break, so I'm going to go off and try and earn a bit of money. And for any new listeners to the show, and I'm now being syndicated at a number of different sites, so maybe we get some new listeners. Just a reminder, the 800 numbers in those commercials actually connect to my show. I don't get paid for running the commercials, but I do get paid if you call up about the services provided on any of those. So if you are thinking of using any of those services, please use the 800 numbers in these commercials, because it helps the show stay on the air. Okay, folks, we'll be back shortly.
You can lose 10, 20, 30 pounds or more with Maximum Slim's first ever rapid weight loss guarantee. Today, you get Maximum Slim, an advanced fat and carb blocker, absolutely risk-free. The all-natural ingredients in Maximum Slim are a powerful weight loss combination. The Maximum Slim formula turns your body into a fat-burning furnace that supercharges your weight loss. Advanced fat and carb blocker stops the breakdown of sugar so your body doesn't store it as fat. Today, you'll get both of these products absolutely risk-free with no obligation. Only pay shipping. There are no expensive meal plans or exhausting DVDs. Just take Maximum Slim twice a day. It's fast, simple, and now it's guaranteed. Look, you can start losing weight today or not. Go back to your high school days and wear your favorite jeans again. Guaranteed. Call now and get both weight loss formulas free. Call 800-451-0228. 800-451-0228. That's 800-451-0228.
Doc, you gotta give it to me straight.
All right.
'Cause I'm dying here. I mean, take a look at this letter from the IRS.
Oh, my.
This is killing me, Doc. I tell you, it's killing me.
Cheer up, my friend.
Huh?
The tax doctor is here. My diagnosis tells me that you're going to be just fine.
Really?
The tax doctor will not rest until we find you the best possible tax settlement.
Really, Doc?
Guaranteed.
If the IRS claims you owe them $10,000 or more in business or personal back taxes, call a tax doctor right now. We could save you up to 75% if you qualify. Guaranteed or you pay nothing. Call right now for free details.
800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. 800-917-8546. That's 800-917-8546.
Do you have pain from arthritis in your knees? It's no wonder. Osteoarthritis affects 1 in 2 adults. That's 50% of us in our lifetime will suffer from arthritis knee pain. If you're covered by Medicare or within 90 days of turning 65, we can help relieve your knee pain. Call right now and see how you can get a pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. At the Health Alert Hotline, we have consultants ready to help you learn how an easy-to-wear knee brace can help stop the pain so you can be active again. And after we work with Medicare to get you approved, you can get our high-quality pain-relieving knee brace at little or no cost to you. Call the Health Alert Hotline right now for free shipping and to learn more. 800-296-1257. 800-296-1257. That's 800-296-1257.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And folks, thanks for sticking with me through that break. We are into the second segment of the show, and right now, time for a new topic. And I want to go back to a speech that Donald Trump gave after the Orlando disaster, after the Orlando horrific massacre there. He was scheduled to give a speech on Hillary Clinton and blasting her, but he decided to switch it, obviously at the last minute, to terrorism. He also cancelled his event that he had there, one of his mass rallies, but he did give a speech to the press on terrorism. And of course, everybody jumped in, both left and right, and especially the mainstream media, accusing Trump of employing the politics of fear. Now, let's think about it. They said Trump was employing the politics of fear a few days after the Wicked Witch had attacked Trump, and if you listen to her, she was saying Donald Trump would start a nuclear war if somebody insults him, drive women into back alley abortions, and lead us into a global economic crisis. Now, if that's not fear-mongering, I don't know what is. And so some of these comments came from a piece at the relatively extreme left-wing site Politico. They said Trump's speech followed Clinton's on Monday, answering the presumptive Democratic nominee's attempt to be unifying and calming, with remarks that at best characterized her approach as timid and weak, and at worst stoked Americans' fears of their Muslim neighbors with visions of immigrants who share the values of the Orlando shooter and other legal residents who have carried out attacks on U.S. soil out of loyalty to ISIS and other terror groups. So, at worst, stoking Americans' fears of their Muslim neighbors with visions of immigrants who share the values of the Orlando shooter. Now, why would the left say that? Well, part of it is obvious, because Donald Trump is not jumping on the nothing to see here, folks, move along, Islam has nothing to do with this bandwagon that both the mainstream media and especially somebody like Hillary Clinton and also, of course, King Barry, they've been doing that for years, and they continue to do it after this massacre. So is it dangerous to admit the truth that a large number of Muslim immigrants and refugees that come into America support Sharia law? Or do you just say, well, let's stick our head in the sand while more Americans die? And unless we face up to the fact that a lot of these people coming in do follow Sharia law, then if we don't do anything about it, more Americans will die. Now, what Trump actually said was the following: immigration from Afghanistan into the United States has increased nearly fivefold in just 1 year. That's 500% greater in 1 year. According to Pew Research, 99% of the people in Afghanistan support oppressive Sharia law. So we keep admitting more, and we increase the numbers, and we're bringing in more people who support Sharia law. And it isn't just Afghanistan, it's other countries as well. Now, these other countries as well, they share these oppressive views and values. This 7th century religion or political ideology, because that's actually what it is. It's not a religion. There is a tinge of religion in there, but it's actually a political ideology. And the sooner we wake up to that, the better. But anyway, back to what Donald Trump said. We want to remain a free and open society. So if we do, we have to control our borders. We have to control them, and we have to control them now. Not later, right now. Is that fear-mongering? If you're just saying the truth, it is the truth. These people support Sharia law. Sharia law is oppressive, that is at odds with the U.S. Constitution. But they continue to go on with this. And the left is just, it's just so stupid. The good news is, now, so Trump said this, and, right, we have to remember, we're not just importing people, we're importing a culture. We're importing an ideology, right? And it's in direct conflict with our own culture, with our own constitution. So if we want to remain free and open, the people who come here must adapt to our culture. right? This happened to the Italians, to the Irish. Initially, I'll agree, it took them some time. They often lived in their enclaves, in their own ghettos. But eventually, they adapted, and they wanted to adapt. The first generation of Italians, a lot of them spoke very little English because they didn't know it. But their kids all learned English, and their kids all went to schools, to colleges that were not Italian-speaking. Their parents wanted them to integrate into society. But now you're importing an ideology that wants to bring their closed, oppressive culture to America and force us to adapt to them. Well, shouldn't we then say, if that's what you want, then go? Putin said it. Australia said it. Why can't we be strong enough to say it? And then you've got that traitor, Paul Ryan, saying, oh, well, reducing Muslim immigrants to America, that's not who we are. Well, actually, Paul Ryan, you're wrong. That is who we are. Because let's think back to the 50s. Anybody wanting to come to America in the 50s, even for a tourist visa, had to sign a piece of paper saying they were not a member of the Communist Party because the Communist Party was deemed to be working to overthrow the U.S. government. And of course they were. That was quite true. There was nothing fear-mongering about it. That's just what they did. But of course the Regressives, come on, they're socialists, they're communists anyway. They didn't like that. But that was the truth. In the 50s we did it. So don't say that restricting an ideology that is against our constitution is not who we are. I'm sorry, Paul Ryan, and I'm very disappointed in him. I don't think, unfortunately, the polls are showing that Paul Nehlen's doing as well as we'd like, but I really wish we could primary Paul Ryan out. That would really send a message to those elitists in Washington. Do a cantering on Paul Ryan. That would be fantastic if we could do that. So, folks, remember, if you can support Paul Nehlen, maybe we can pull off the impossible. If you can dream it, you can do it, is what Walt said. So let's try and do that. So, what did Trump say? He actually said he was talking about a temporary ban of Muslim immigration and he actually weakened it from what he'd said before to one that said from terrorist strongholds, from countries where there are many terrorists. And he said, after a full and really long overdue security assessment, we will develop a responsible immigration policy that serves the interests and values of America. That's exactly what we want. Yeah, let's develop something where we can say, first of all, we can work out who's trying to come in. Oh, and by the way, passports are no good because ISIS took over all the passport offices, so they can make someone to be whoever they want. But let's get them to sign things. Sign a promise that they won't be working to overthrow American culture, that they won't be doing things against the American Constitution. And then if they get caught doing anything, well, hopefully they end up like the Orlando shooter, right? And then we can ship his body back to Afghanistan and ship theirs to wherever they want to go back to. But if not, if we capture them alive, no two ways about it. They've done anything remotely terroristic. They've signed a piece of paper saying they would not do that. Ship them out immediately. No quarter, no mercy, no faffing around with liberal judges and lawyers and things. Very simple. You did it, you signed the paper, and you're out. And Trump has been saying immigration should be determined by what is in the best interests of the United States. It's the Regressives that are saying U.S. immigration policy should be in the best interests of the immigrants. That is just a bizarro world, wrong way round. Okay, folks, on to the next topic, but before we do that, we do need to take a quick break. So I'm going to do that, and we will play yet another commercial. And after the commercial, I'm going to play some music, which I like to, as you know, I like to do that. And obviously it is in connection with the topic that we're going to handle next, which is talking about the Wicked Witch and how untrustworthy she really is. Okay, folks, I'll be back shortly.
Patriot come lately. British by birth. American by choice. Just like the Founding Fathers. The voice of the conservative resistance.
Every day, millions of Americans grow more concerned about the future of our great nation. The truth is, over the last century, a small but powerful collectivist movement known as progressivism has debased our politics, our culture, and our currency. We're just a small step from falling into 1,000 years of darkness, as Ronald Reagan warned. Friend, this is Pat Boone with an important free offer on a hot new book called The Great Withdrawal by Craig Smith and Lowell Ponte. This new book explains how we, the people, can end this fatal detour into big government and get back on the path of faith and freedom charted by our founders. Call now for a free copy of the hot new book called The Great Withdrawal.
Call now for your free copy. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. 800-978-3901. That's 800-978-3901.
Owe $10,000 or more to the IRS that you can't pay? Call now for immediate help. At the Tax Relief Line, we help people just like you. If you take on the IRS alone, you could be facing levies, liens, even wage garnishments, personal or business tax issues. If you owe $10,000 or more to the IRS, call now and see if you can pay less. They can freeze your bank accounts, even garnish your wages. Call the Tax Relief Line now for immediate help. Our expert team of tax professionals will negotiate your tax problem and deal with the IRS for you. If the IRS is threatening you with levies, wage garnishments, or seizing your assets, call now and see if you can pay the IRS less.
888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043. 888-789-5043.
This is Patriot Come Lately Talk Radio, keeping the spirit of America alive, a proud member of the Red State Talk Radio Network. And folks, yes, we're back into the second half of the show before we get going on the next topic. And as I said, I want to talk about some even more reasons why we should not be voting for the Wicked Witch. But before we do that, one of the reasons not voting for Hillier is will be something to do with the Second Amendment. And of course, if it's the Second Amendment, there's a song that I just have to play by Steve Voss called "Come and Take It." I'm sure you'll love this one. As here it goes.
Deep in the heart of Texas, back in 1835, they drew a line in the sand. The folks at Gonzales had freedom on their minds. It was all because of a cannon that had kept their colony safe. But then General Santa Anna sent some Mexican troops to take the big gun away. You know what those colonists said? Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but we'll warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time. Well, that started a revolution that no one could put down. Like a wildfire for freedom, it's burning even now. You see, even if you got an army, when all is said and done, you just don't mess with Texas, especially when it comes to guns. The Mexicans went home without that cannon. Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but we'll warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time. Now, I know the Constitution, and it gives me certain rights that I will never, ever give up, at least not without a fight. So if anybody's even thinking they're gonna take my guns away, like the good old boys down in Gonzales, I got one thing to say. Come on, make my day. Come and take it if you want it. Come and take it if you think you can. Come and take it, but I warn you, you'll have to pry it from our cold dead hands. We want the freedom that God gave us, so you best not cross that line. If you want this gun, you gotta come through us and take it one shot at a time.
And yes, folks, that's Steve Voss with Come and Take It. And as I said, a very good Second Amendment song. And especially the Second Amendment has been under attack, of course, after the Orlando tragedy. Of course, the left is using, why let a crisis go to waste? And instead of focusing on terrorism, they're focusing on gun control. Which wouldn't have had any effect for any of the measures that they wanted to put forward. But, any excuse. So, how is the left getting away with it? And specifically, how is Hillary getting away with some of these things? And I've got two very good examples that don't really seem to have resonated at all in the mainstream media. You should say, well, why not? You'd think this would be plastered all over the place. But then, of course, we know the media is in the tank for Hillary, and there's even more proof of that now. So, new topic. And 2-3 weeks ago, it was discovered that even Google is in political mode. And they found that Google was manipulating its search engine to boost Hillary by burying unflattering stories about her. Now, how did they do that? Well, you probably know when you go to Google and you do a search, it pops up with all sorts of suggestions. Those suggestions come from the algorithms, which are proprietary algorithms. Each search engine, so Google, Yahoo, AOL, Bing, all these different search engines have their own secret ways of basically deciding what would be best for you to know. And what people notice that if you went and did a search for Hillary Clinton, CRI, so just typing the first three words there, you would expect that they would come up with Hillary Clinton criminal charges, Hillary Clinton crime. Those would be the first suggestions, because that's probably what people are searching on a lot. Well, Google wasn't doing that. If you typed in Hillary Clinton and then the three-letter CRI, it would say, I think you probably want to know about Hillary Clinton's crime reform. That was at the top of the list. Crime reform? No, I want to know about her criminal charges. I want to know about the crimes she's committing. Now, if you go to Bing and Yahoo and did the same thing, then you would get criminal charges and crime way above Hillary Clinton crime reform, which may be a valid topic to put in the list, but not right at the top. So it just shows, right? We can't even trust something like Google to give us the correct information. Isn't that disappointing? Well, what are they protecting us from? Well, let me just give you a couple of suggestions. Although I see we're getting close to time for the next commercial break, so I think what I'll do, I'm going to quickly do the commercial break, and then we can get on to Hillary's digressions. So here we go, folks.
The offer of a franchise can only be made through delivery of a franchise disclosure document. Imagine yourself being a leader in America's fastest growing demographic category. More than 10,000 people a day turn 65, and a large percentage are going to need a helping hand at home or in choosing the right assisted living community. Always Best Care is looking for people who've excelled at everything they've done, but they're seeking a new challenge. Always Best Care is one of the fastest growing companies in this explosive field. We're looking for 25 new franchisees to keep our booming business growing. We'll back you up with the strongest award-winning marketing program in the industry, and we'll provide the special training and support that's fueled our growth to prepare you for this great opportunity. All that's missing is you. Call Always Best Care toll-free at 1-800-643-7508. That's 1-800-643-7508. For Always Best Care, 1-800-643-7508. Call today.
Are you worried about losing your home to foreclosure? If you've been threatened with foreclosure or received legal papers from your bank, you have approximately 30 days to respond. If you do not respond, you could lose your home. You have rights. Act now to protect your rights. You can stay in your home. Many times you can even modify your loan. The bottom line is you can get past this, but you must act right now. Call National Foreclosure Defense right now at 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. If you've been served by your bank and you're worried about losing your home to foreclosure, now is the time to fight back and save your home. Time is limited, so call right now. 800-296-3006, 800-296-3006. Call the professionals at National Foreclosure Defense right now. 800-296-3006.
This is Patrick Come Lately Talk Radio, coming to you live via the internet, via rebroadcast on WRSDB, the Red State Talk Radio Network, or from the recordings at archives.patrickcomelately.us. And yes, so the corruption and other things that Google is so-called protecting us from. So let's start with the first one. This is one which, again, hit the news wires, primarily the right-wing talk shows, and then just disappeared. And this is one about how a Clinton donor seemed to have been put onto a sensitive intelligence board for no reason other than they were a Clinton donor. After a Freedom of Information request, a number of emails were had to be released. Took them over 2 years for the State Department to release them, and this is basically further to some research that ABC, hardly a right-wing media outlet, had started a number of years ago. It concerns the ISAB, the International Security Advisory Board, And there was a guy called Rajiv Fernando that was appointed to that. Now, apparently, when the list of people that were being recommended for that board were sent from the State Department or from other sources through the State Department for action, that list was intercepted by Cheryl Mills, who was the Chief of Staff to the then Secretary of State, yes, Hillary herself, and that name was added. And in the emails, it actually says that's all. There is also an email where people associated with the board can't understand why this person was actually recommended for the position, and but they realize that they have to start covering and protecting the name of the Secretary of State. So let me quote one email between Korea government officials. I've spoken to the State Department official and ISAB executive director privately, and it appears there is much more to this story that we're unaware of. This is the person who'd been approached by ABC News about this very, very dubious appointment. We must protect the Secretary and Undersecretary's name as well as the integrity of the board. I think it's important to get down to the bottom of this before there's any response. As you can see from the attached, which was not actually attached in the FOIA information that was sent to the people requesting it, it's natural to ask how we got onto the board when compared to the rest of the esteemed list of members. So, folks, why this in of itself wasn't shouted from the rooftops and this is enough to absolutely disqualify her from the presidency anyway. So, but it gets swept under the rug. I mean, it's just it makes my blood boil for that. And I mean, it after the fact they sort of said, well, yes, he has, because he has technological knowledge. He was a computer trader. He was doing computer trading. What does that have to do with nuclear energy and nuclear weaponry at all? Absolutely nothing. It's just he paid a lot of money, then he got to get on some important board, right? To be here, it is a serious, knowledgeable, and experienced group of experts. Much of the focus has been on questions of nuclear stability and the risks of nuclear weapons use by Russia and Pakistan. Well, shouldn't we have security people on that, but not just somebody who comes in off the street, in essence? Many emails make references to the Secretary of State through a code, just using the letter S. And one of the other emails says the true answer is simply that Cheryl Mills, S staff, right? So the Secretary of State, Chief of Staff, Cheryl Mills. Raj was not on the list sent to the Secretary of State. He was added at their insistence. So this wasn't a recommendation made by the people who know who should be on that list. Now, this was just added by Cheryl Mills, who works for Hillary. Hillary gets all this money from this guy. Play to pay, folks. Play to pay. This is corruption. This is corruption of the most obvious kind, and nobody's doing anything about it. This country is in deep doo-doo when these sort of things can go on. So, of course, once ABC discovered it, remember, ABC is not a right-wing part of the vast right-wing conspiracy against the Clintons. So they're ABC is one of the most left-wing media outlets right now. So the fact that they were digging into it shows that they didn't agree with it. So, folks, what else, though? Okay, well, let me tell you. Here's something else that that I found. And this, too, should make, 3/4 of America decide they can't vote for Hillier. Now, I'm going to play you something where Hillier talks about the Second Amendment. I want you to know this was actually recorded a while back. It was at an event where people had signed an agreement not to record, but somebody secretly did so. Now, when you hear what was discussed, what Hillier was saying, no wonder she didn't want it sent out, right? But think about it, folks. This is what she's doing behind closed doors. So what was she saying to the banks where she refuses to release her transcripts? And if she's saying this, right, and this was well before the Orlando horror. So think about it, folks. I mean, it just shows you what a untrustworthy, what a scheming person she really is. So listen to this.
So I'm going to speak out. I'm going to do everything I can to rally people against this pernicious, corrupting influence of the NRA. And we're going to do whatever we can. I was proud when my husband took them out, and we were able to ban assault weapons, but he had to put a sunset on. So 10 years later, of course, Bush wouldn't agree to reinstate them. We've got to go after this. And here again, the Supreme Court is wrong on the Second Amendment. And I am going to make that case every chance I get. So I will need your help on that.
Thank you for listening to the show. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's topics. Whether you listened live, to a recording, or to a rebroadcast, I appreciate the time you share with me. We need to spread the message of liberty far and wide, so please tell your friends and family about the show. Thank you for helping to keep the beacon of hope burning. This is Stefan, your Patrick Come Lately, signing off. God bless America, and remember, L3, long live liberty.